What's going on, guys? RBG here, bringing you more updates on the upcoming Transformers films. I know there have been these huge gaps in time when I make these videos because there honestly hasn't been much to write home about. For whatever reason, Paramount has been very vague on what direction they want to go with the franchise moving forward, and we keep hearing rumors from so-called reputable sources that don't necessarily add up. I understand that the studio execs want to make sure they stick their landing because, to be quite honest, the TF movies haven't been in the best position in terms of box office earnings, but they really need to do an official announcement and give us a roadmap of what they have in store for the Transformers films. Until then, I'm going to continue throwing out guesses of what I think they may be up to based on some of these latest leaks. And today we have 2 articles to go over, so stay tuned. Now, before we get started on the video, I gotta give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, TubeBuddy. As a successful YouTube user, I often get questions asking what I use to get my videos tons of views, and the answer to that is TubeBuddy. This thing has helped me take my channel to the next level in ways I never imagined. It's a browser extension that helps new and experienced YouTubers grow fast and optimize their channels. I've been using this extension for years and it's constantly getting updated with new features, like the SEO tool that helps me come up with the perfect title, description, and tags to get more people to click on my videos. It even provides you with analytics besides your videos to see how much traffic your video is generating from various social media sites. The extension is absolutely free, but as a special offer, we're giving a 50% discount for channels that have less than 1,000 subscribers that purchase the Pro upgrade. All you have to do is enter in the code RisingStarBuddy. So if you're interested in starting a YouTube channel or taking your content to the next level, download the extension now. You can do so by clicking on this link that'll be provided in the description of this video. But as I was saying, guys, Paramount has been very tight-lipped about the future of the Transformers films, and all we've been able to go off of are articles from sites like Deadline. While I find them to be some of the more trustworthy news article sites, I still take the info they deliver with a small grain of salt, because we've seen how fickle the studio producing these films can be. We've had instances of them saying that the Bumblebee movie was a prequel to the previous Bay films, only for them to turn around and say that it was a reboot later after the film was released. And no, I'm not going to argue with the people who are still yelling that it was and still is a prequel. Yes, there was a lot of mounting evidence in the Bumblebee movie that suggested that it did in fact take place in the Bayverse continuity. Even though the director Travis Knight wanted to return the characters to their G1 roots, he still had to make sure he didn't contradict certain elements that were already established in the previous films. He initially wanted to feature Megatron during the Cybertron scenes. However, the Decepticon leader was ultimately omitted, specifically because the continuity dictated that he was still frozen on Earth at the time. But it still doesn't negate the fact that Paramount and Allspark Pictures have deemed the film a reboot, so yeah. Anyways, for a while there have been rumors that there was possibly 3 Transformers projects in the works. We got reports that Paramount Animation and Hasbro's E1 studio had hired Toy Story 4's director Josh Cooley to direct a big-scale Transformers theatrical prequel. And they brought on Ant-Man and the Wasp screenwriter to pen the script. The film would explore the origins of the Autobots and Decepticons on the planet Cybertron, specifically revolving around the relationship between Optimus Prime and Megatron. As for the other 2 films, there have been murmurings that one will be a continuation to Bumblebee and the other will be a Beast Wars spin-off. Allegedly, the studio came to the decision to give the entire franchise a revamp by having 2 simultaneous scripts that are in the act of development, one by James Vanderbilt and one by Jalby Harold. Harold's film eventually would be chosen as the next installment in the franchise, and once he had given his final touches on the script at the end of the summer, the studio began taking director pictures on the next film. So the next film isn't going to be the animated film nor the live-action Beast Wars film, which was being worked on by James Vanderbilt. It's going to be another so-called live-action reboot. And just last month, we got the announcement that Paramount had chosen the filmmaker behind Creed 2, which is a telltale sign that the studio is moving forward on a strong path. And just a few days ago, we got the news that this next Transformers film is officially in pre-production, with Patrick Tatopoulos set to serve as the production designer. This guy's filmography ranges pretty widely too, with early work serving as a creature effects designer on films like Super Mario Bros., Spawn, Godzilla, and Stuart Little. And I already know you're probably saying to yourself, this film is going to be dead on arrival, because none of those films are really worth boasting about. But they were learning experiences that helped Patrick become one of the most talented special effects designers today. In recent years, his work has included collaborating with Zack Snyder on 300: Rise of an Empire, Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice, and Justice League, as well as the upcoming Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. His work also includes Maleficent: Mistress of Evil and the recent Beauty and the Beast remake and I, Robot. So hearing this has me intrigued in the overall aesthetic this movie is going to have. Like, say what you want about Zack Snyder's DC films, what they lack in overall storytelling, they more than make up with cool looking visuals. And while I think those films unnecessarily blow a huge chunk of their budget on CG, I feel that level of production is needed for a Transformers project. If Snyder can direct 90% of his movies on these CG backgrounds, then I don't see why we can't get a full-scale Transformers movie on Cybertron with no humans in sight. It's hard to refute the fact that some of the most captivating scenes from Bumblebee were the scenes that were featured on the Transformers' home world. And the marketing team knew this, like most of those shots from Cybertron were featured in all the promotional materials such as the trailers. And all the Cybertron clips that are on YouTube have way more views than the scenes on Earth, because the human aspect has gotten so mundane and it completely contradicts the title of the movies, which is supposed to name Transformers. That's honestly one of the things that kept Bumblebee from being perfect. And apparently Paramount is slowly but surely acknowledging this issue, because it's rumored that the studio has agreed that the movie should focus more on the heroic Autobots / Maximals and the villainous Decepticons / Predacons than the humans, if there are any humans at all. And if this is indeed true, then it will please critics who downright pan the Bay films because of those components. But anyways, since we mentioned the Maximals and Predacons, I wanted to segue into something that may interest you guys. I know some of you have stressed that the Beast Wars films would be a waste of time because the show sucked in your opinion, and that's totally fine. If you didn't like the series, then you have every right to speak your piece. But you can't refute the fact that it kept the franchise afloat. There wasn't a TF show that could even live up to its legacy until Transformers Prime rolled around, and if I'm not mistaken, one of the main reasons fans are even sticking around to watch the new War for Cybertron series on Netflix is because the Kingdom arc features the Beast era characters. So I think Hasbro and Paramount are sitting on a gold mine, and if they play their cards right, we could see the likes of Optimus Primal and Cheetor steal the limelight from Prime and Bumblebee. I mean, if Marvel Studios can make B-lister characters such as Iron Man and Captain America even bigger than the likes of Spider-Man, then the sky is the limit to what All-Spark Pictures can do with lesser-known characters such as Primal and Cheetor. Speaking of Cheetor, I wanted to talk about this Cheetor Concept Art that was recently revealed. Artist Rob Wiggins, who's worked on some of the previous films such as Age of Extinction and Bumblebee, took to his ArtStation account and showed off what he is saying is Cheetor Transformers Beast Wars early concept work. The CGI design shows a new take on the Beast Wars character we know, with more of an ornate yet abstract look, which is what we'd expect from a big budget Hollywood production. But we have been here before. Now, I just want to quickly point out that these concepts are not for the upcoming Beast Wars film. Rob has had these up for months on his ArtStation account, and usually when these artists post things like this, it's years after a project has been released because they have a non-disclosure agreement. This is why we're just getting artwork for things like Marvel Spider-Man 1 and not Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, because the game is relatively fresh, and if you want to see those concepts, you have to buy the concept art book. Anyways, if you do want to know what project he was going to use the art for, he said this: I created these concepts ages ago, around 5 years in fact. They were concepts that the Hasbro team were pitching for Transformers 6. Ultimately, Paramount Studios chose to go with the standalone Bumblebee movie, in which I also created early concept works for. We'll post to ArtStation soon. So this is pretty big because it gives us more clues on how conflicted the studio is in terms of the direction they're trying to go in with the films. What's interesting is that we've been seeing little concepts for Beast Cybertronians that were going to be in some of the previous projects. If you guys remember, there was a movie incarnation of Optimus Primal and a Cybertronian snake that was supposed to be in Transformers The Last Night, but never made it in for whatever reason. And after going back and looking at that and reading about this variation of Cheetor, I can't say that it was necessarily for a Beast Wars film. As he mentioned, it was for Transformers 6, and given the history of these films, I bet they would have used this concept along with the Primal one if that movie was ever produced. But as we know, we didn't get that movie, we got Bumblebee. I'm thinking that since Bumblebee didn't do as good as they wanted it to do, they're not gonna come out with this Transformers 6 film. And even though it isn't Beast Wars, these characters could potentially appear in it. But anyways, let's talk about these concepts. I know you guys want to know what I think about them, and I can honestly say that I'm not too high on them. There are things that I like about them, like you can tell that this isn't your typical techno-organic Cheetor we're accustomed to from the show and comics. It doesn't feature a mixture of metal and fur, which is another indication that this is meant to be in the Vayverse. But regardless, I'm glad that they didn't go with this design because there's something off about it. Firstly, we gotta look at Cheetor's beast mode. Like, there are some things that I think would have looked great once it was fully finished. I love the black and orange color scheme. Just looking at the black accents, it looks like those parts could possibly be carbon fiber texture. And the orange could have looked like more of a metallic if it was fully rendered in CG. And if you look closely, it looks like it has some sort of green coming from some of the crevices on the legs, which makes me think of Lockdown's minions. Because if you remember, his minions had this same green glow coming from their chests. Like, this entire concept almost feels like something you could see in a Metal Gear Solid game, particularly Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. If you guys have ever played that game, you remember Raiden had a robotic quadruped partner named Blade Wolf, and that's the vibe this concept is giving me. Like, he could be an arch nemesis to Blade Wolf, I'm just saying. Anyways, the thing that I think has been universally criticized in this beast mode is the tail. It looks too flat and super cartoony, like it doesn't belong on Cheetor's body. I don't know what the artist was trying to do, but that ain't it, Chief. Something else that ain't it at all is the head for his robot mode. This don't give off Cheetor's vibes at all, bruh. It doesn't even look like something that can be in the Bayverse style of robots, which is saying a lot because Michael Bay's Transformers usually have a lot going on and look completely unrecognizable from the lore they're based off of. But this just looks weird. Cheetor has these weird horns that stick out at an awkward angle, and for some reason he has what looks to be a third eye on his forehead. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this anime, but anytime I look at the head design for Cheetor, I think of Briario's from Appleseed. He has those weird looking horns and eyes just like this concept art, except the horns aren't placed awkward like he's trying to get a Wi-Fi signal, man. Like, I'm not trying to come off like an entitled snob, but this design just looks weird. The original Beast Wars design for Cheetor had a very unique looking robot mode, and what I loved about all the robot modes from that show is that although they were in that form, their faces still feature some of their beast mode characteristics. Like, even though Cheetor had a very humanoid face, it still featured a feline-like mouth, and Rat Trap still had his rat teeth in his robot mode. But the face on this concept art is so busy I don't know what's going on. Regardless, I'm glad that this didn't leave the cutting room floor, and hopefully we get a better rendition of the character. And I think we will, especially if Paramount is planning on working with this particular artist. As I mentioned earlier, Ron has worked on other TL projects in the past. He's even done character designs for Transformers Cyberverse, so he knows what works and what doesn't. Anyways, I just wanted to bring you guys this video and give you my thoughts on this. Hearing these things gives us more clues on what's going on with the writer's room and Paramount, and I feel like we should be getting an official reveal very soon. But what do you guys think about all of this? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I ask you like or dislike the video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. Any feedback is good feedback and will only help me improve on future content. But if you really enjoyed it, I'd appreciate it a lot if you shared it with all your friends and followers on social media. Sharing really makes a difference. But this is your boy RBG signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.